We are very pleased at this hour to be joined by a man who's a good friend of this program, Maryland Governor Larry Hogan. He has his own theme music, you see, when he comes on the program.
Hogan.
Maryland Governor Larry Hogan on the line now. Good morning to you, Governor. How are you?
Good morning, Brian. I love the music. Thank you.
It's Brian Wilson Day, by the way, alongside Tony Schaefer,
Morning, Governor.
who's in for Larry O'Connor. Okay, so I want to start out. I mean, here's a question that I'm dying to ask you. You are a Republican governor in a state where Democrats outnumber Republicans 2-1. And I look at your approval ratings, and they are through the roof. So a 70% approval rating in the state of Maryland. How are you able to do? What are you doing? Because I think if we can figure this out and bottle it, it might really be good for other Republican candidates who are going to be running in November.
Well, thanks for saying that. I really can't put my finger on it. I'm just pleased that it seems like an overwhelming majority of Marylanders are happy with the direction that the state is heading, and I think they just agree with our approach and the issues we're focused on. And I don't think it's so much a popularity contest as they approve of the job we're doing, and our team has been working hard, and we're getting things done. And it's doesn't usually happen when you have checks and balances in a divided government, but we're getting things done, and I think people are happy with the direction of the state.
Well, and how are things going in your dealings with the democratically controlled state legislature right now?
Well, yesterday we just unanimously passed our budget out of the Senate. It's now passed both houses, and 99.9% intact, which is almost unheard of. And 2 weeks before the end of the legislative session, which I don't know if that's ever happened before, even when everybody was in the same party in the WMAL administration, a couple times they couldn't even finish the budget. They had to call special sessions. It goes down to the wire with fighting until midnight on the last day.
Yeah.
And we, for the most part, on the big things, the budget is the most important thing, and we've got that done. And we actually have both houses of the legislature talking about tax relief, which is something almost unheard of in Maryland. And we've been pushing.
They saw the results of the last election.
Yeah, well, and they also probably see those numbers you were talking about.
Yeah.
Hey, Governor, look, I'll just put it right out there. Like, when I first heard your diagnosis, I thought it was all over for you. And I am amazed and happy that we're both having this conversation because you're just a great guy and you're a Republican governor. So how the heck are you doing?
Well, thank you. I'm doing great. I went through a pretty tough battle last year. It was 90 days after I became governor, I had the riots in Baltimore, and then 60 days later, I got the diagnosis that I had advanced and aggressive cancer. So not the way I wanted to start the first year, but I went through some tough treatment. But I'm 100% cancer free and in complete remission. So I'm very pleased with all the prayers and the well wishes and the support from a lot of people. And I got a great team of doctors and nurses, and I was inspired by a lot of other folks fighting tougher battles than my own. So
and a handsome head of hair coming back in, by the way.
Well, I got sort of a hair coming back. It's not quite a full head, but I'm not quite as bald as I was.
Well,
go ahead.
Governor, I was going to say, one serious question, though. A lot of people are going to want to know who you're leaning for regarding the presidential election. So I don't know if you'd be willing to give us any hints here, but any thoughts on the current candidates and who you might be for?
I've talked about this at length recently, and it seems to be everybody's focused on that. And quite frankly, I've never experienced anything like this in my entire life, where I'm really frustrated with the whole process, and I'm sort of disgusted with national politics and both parties. And I don't think we're putting up the best candidates in either the Republican or Democratic Party. I have no idea who I'm going to vote for.
Well,
and I'm not too excited about the choices we have.
A lot of people have asked this question. Let me take a stab at it. If Trump is the nominee, you have expressed some concerns about Donald Trump. If he is the nominee, will you support him?
Well, we'll jump off that bridge when we come to it, but we've still got 7 or 8 months. I don't think he will be the nominee, but we'll wait and see.
And you've got some great bridges to jump off of in your state, by the way.
Yeah. Well, we're fixing most of them. We're fixing 65 structurally deficient bridges all across the state.
That's a good politician.
This is great. This is great. Yeah.
How's that for a?
Yeah, that's what you call a segue. That's a pivot, and that's what it's known as. Hey, let me ask you about this though. The redistricting in the state of Maryland. I mean, a lot of people are concerned about the way these congressional districts, other districts are drawn. Are you going to get involved? How involved are you in that process, and what's likely to happen?
Well, we're very involved, and it's a really important issue that nearly all Marylanders agree on. And we have the unfortunate distinction of being the most gerrymandered state in the entire nation, and we have districts that are just ridiculous. We have legislators picking their districts, picking their constituents instead of the other way around. And it's very one-sided and not fair. We don't have free and fair elections in Maryland, and we put together a redistricting reform commission that worked for a year. We have legislation that's in the legislature now. We're pushing hard for it. So far, the Democratic leaders in the House and the Senate are just stonewalling and not even bringing it up for a vote, even though almost all Democrats and all Republicans in Maryland support it.
In the Maryland Senate race, there's, I think, a cast of thousands running for the Republican nomination right now. Are you going to get involved in that anyway, or just wait until that process plays itself out and then support the nominee?
Yeah, well, I'm just going to wait and see how it plays out. There's some I like all the candidates. They're all friends, and they're all working hard, and we're going to wait and see what happens in a few weeks, and we'll be happy to help whoever is the nominee. All
right, so what things should we be looking at going forward as you try to wrap up the legislative session?
Well, again, we're going to continue to push for the redistricting. We're pushing for the tax relief, which isn't done yet, and those are the two main issues, along with transportation. We've invested $2 billion in infrastructure improvements to fix the top priority road projects in every single jurisdiction, 84 road projects, 65 bridges, and the legislators are trying to kill it all. And have a piece of legislation that would basically have the potential of killing every road project in nearly every single jurisdiction. So those are the three top things we're fighting on. There's 3,000 pieces of legislation, which is absolutely absurd, but we're not paying attention to most of it. But the big issues we're focused on.
And you've been able to turn around the deficit situation in the state. That's pretty amazing.
When we inherited this deficit, it was $5.1 billion last year when we came in. Just a horrendous fiscal situation for the state, and we've eliminated over 90% of the $5.1 billion structural deficit, and we ended up with a cash balance. And we're really getting. We've got a great team that's been working hard on trying to put the state's finances back on track, and I think that's the main reason why people are happy with where we are.
Governor, there's one last question. This is the most serious question of the morning, and I hope you will weigh it as appropriately as such. Larry O'Connor, our colleague, is not here right now, but how are you making progress on making Larry O'Connor the official crab cake czar of the state of Maryland?
Well, we're working hard on that going to There's a lot of opposition. There's a lot of opposition in both the House and the Senate. He's got some detractors, but we're going to continue to try to get it done. But if not, we may have to substitute one of you guys and withdraw his.
Well, listen, if nominated, I'm a Texan by birth, but I'm a Marylander now for some 30 years. If nominated, I will serve if Larry's nomination somehow is falling apart.
And I'm a Virginian, so I think I'd be tried up.
No, I can't be that.
I'd be hauled in and tried for some sort of a treason or something, I think.
Well, we're going to push for Larry. Tell him we haven't given up hope yet, and we're hoping to get that done.
All right, listen, thank you so much. It's good to have you on. Maryland Governor Larry Hogan here on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk.